Alright guys, welcome back to the Pokemads channel. It's Maddie here, and in today's video we're going to be doing our complete comprehensive set review for the new expansion that just came to Pokemon Pocket, Everyday Wonders B3B. It is midnight as I am recording this. We just hopped off our release live stream and it was a lot of fun. We did a max pack opening and we tested a bunch of the new cards in the new decks. Shout out to everybody that tuned into the live stream. I really do appreciate it. We're going to do something interesting. Not only am I going to review this set and all of the new cards, I'm going to actually give a ranking. We're going to give a rating for these cards, a preemptive rating. And that should be fun because at the end of the season, we can go back and really just sort of see how accurate I was with my rating of these cards. We're going to rate the cards out of 5 stars, 1 through 5 stars. I think that should be fun. And then at the end of the month, when the next set is coming out and we do a live stream, we'll see how accurate I was with my rankings here. But yeah, no, hold the phone because this set is way better than I think most people anticipated it being. We're gonna break it all down because I think this set was an absolute banger. So many, sorry, I hit my microphone. So many incredible new cards. We'll talk about it. We'll break it all down here. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We're almost at 50,000 subscribers, and also don't forget to register for PMPT the PMPT holiday special, which is a special single day tournament, which is happening this Sunday because 4th of July is Saturday. Link to register down in the description below. All right, let's break down this set. Hopefully this video isn't too long because I got to get this recorded and uploaded. And like I said, it's already midnight tonight on a Monday night. But anyway, let's get right into it. The first thing here, let's talk about the new Caterpie, Quick Growth. Now, there are some Butterfree cards in the game. Some are good, some are not incredible, but this Caterpie, in fact, is actually very, very strong. So it has the ability Quick Growth. At the end of your turn, at the end of your opponent's turn, rather, if this Pokemon is in the active spot, you put a random card from your deck that evolves from this Pokemon onto it, being Metapod, and then you evolve it. Now, this is happening on your opponent's turn. So the way this is going to go is if you lead off with Caterpie and you end your turn, at the end of your opponent's turn, it doesn't KO Caterpie. If your opponent doesn't KO Caterpie, it will evolve into Metapod and then go back to your turn, which means that you could then evolve that Metapod into a Butterfree on turn 2, effectively allowing you to go turn 2 Butterfree, which is a stage 2 Pokemon, without needing to play Rare Candy. Now that's really nice, but what it's also doing is just pulling additional cards out of your deck, right? So Caterpie, by the way, this Pokemon has to be in the active spot for this to work, but it's, additional card thinning. It's a way to kind of get Butterfree out on turn 2, which all Butterfrees have low energy attack costs. So you're going to be able to guarantee that you can attack with Butterfree on turn 2. And that's really, really nice. I think this is a totally decent card. This is a really nice tool to have for Butterfree decks. I think the application for this and the new Butterfree is playing it with the new Hisuian Zoroark so that it's just a really consistent way to get multiple Pokemon out of your deck and onto your board. And then even if Butterfree goes down, then that's 3 extra Pokemon in your discard pile, which will inevitably power up Hisuian Zoroark. It's a very funny strategy. I think Caterpie's really decent. This is actually a really nice card. It does have 40 HP and none of the Butterfree cards are that incredible. So I'm going to give Caterpie a solid 2.5 out of 5 stars. I think this is a really decent card. Like it's a really interesting card and it's not bad at all. But I don't think it'll ever be like the most meta thing in the game. I could be wrong about that, but it's just a really interesting card. And talking about Butterfree here, this is the new one. It does 60 and heals 20. I think we have other better Butterfrees. There's one that I think does sleep. So you probably want to play that Butterfree instead of this one. This card is not bad. It does have 130 HP, which is pretty decent. And again, single energy cost, 60 damage. So I'm going to give this like a 2 out of 5 stars. It's just an okay card, but I think we have other better Butterfrees. Let's skip all the way ahead here to more relevant cards, and let's talk about Hisuian Lilligant. This is also a very decent card, but I do think if you're going to be playing like a grass deck, you're either playing Meowscarada, you're either playing Sceptile, and then you need complementary leadoff Pokemon to be playing with those strategies. Lilligant doesn't make as much sense as just playing things like, Pheromosa, quite frankly, or even Chingling or other baby Pokemon. It's not bad. 100 HP, you can go turn 2, 60 damage. If you have a tool card attached, we do have access to Quick Growth Extract, and there's a bunch of new cards that they added that do allow you to play tool cards, and that tool card could be a Leaf Cape to go to 130, could be Rocky Helmet. This is not a bad card. I just, in general, don't really think there's a lot of reason to be playing this above other grass-type decks and other strategies, so I'm going to give Lilligant a 2 out of 5 stars. Again, it's not a terrible card, but not something I really think we'll see competitive play, but I think it's totally fine, honestly. Let's talk about this new Ninetales, which, for 3 energies and 100 HP, does 20 damage X. you flip 9 coins, okay? You flip 9 coins, and this attack does 20 damage for each heads. Now, keep in mind, we do have the new Victini, which will allow you to reflip all of those coins if you would like to. So you can flip all 9 coins. Theoretically, you could deal 180 damage with this thing, which is funny, but on average, you're gonna, I guess land 4 or 5 heads, which is, 80 or 100 damage, which isn't bad. And you can reflip with Victini. So, Ninetales Victini is interesting, but I don't think other, coin flip fire deck strategies have been relevant ever since, Embolga and Victini came out in a previous set. It is kind of where they're going with some of these off-meta fire type strategies. I think Ninetales is really funny. However, double coin flipping with 9 coins with Victini is going to be quite annoying for both you and your opponent. I think this is a totally meme card, but again, it can deal damage. We have ways to generate additional fire energies. I'm going to give this a 2 out of 5 stars. Again, it's really funny, but I don't think it's ever going to see that much play. Let's talk about Growlithe. Let's just talk about Puppy Pile, because the whole thing kind of goes together, right? These are cards that are all meant to be played together. We have 4 Puppy Pile cards. We have a new supporter card to play Puppy Pile with. I think Puppy Pile is a really, really fun strategy. I don't think it's like the craziest thing in the world. I do think the saving grace for Puppy Pile is that we have Growlithe and you can play Flame Patch. So that's the way that you would be able to chain Growlithe attacks together in a way that is maybe somewhat decent. But I just don't know if it's going to be that good. This to me feels like, kind of a new off-meta strategy. It's a single prize archetype. It's fun. It's going to have a lot of inconsistency problems. But you know what? There's worse things in the game, quite frankly. So I'm going to give Puppy Pile a 2.5 out of 5 stars as well. Definitely not a terrible deck or a strategy, but it is fun. I'm glad that we have it into the game. Don't worry, we've yet to get into the absolute bangers because we do have quite a few of them coming up, but that's what I'm going to give to Puppy Pile in general, including Growlithe. Okay, skipping ahead here, where we are, we're going to skip ahead. I'm going to skip ahead to a new EX card that was not teased before the set released, but is now released. The cat is out of the bag, and that is Milotic EX. Now, a couple of cards came out that you're supposed to pair with Milotic, and the whole thing is absolutely broken. So let's talk about Milotic here. It evolves from Feebas. Okay, so Feebas is effectively Magikarp. It's 30 HP to 10 damage. Basic Pokemon, very easily KOable. Okay, so this is a very weak Pokemon, but then it evolves into Milotic. Okay, so Milotic here, stage 1, 140 HP, and it has the ability Aqua Charge. Once during your turn, you may take a water energy from your energy zone and attach it to this Pokemon. This is quite literally Magneton, but it is a water type Pokemon. It's also an EX Pokemon. It also has 140 HP. It's also a water type, which is really relevant because you get access to things like Elemental Switch. So you can use this as an energy battery and then move those water energies to whatever else you would like. However, the attack for Milotic EX is in fact very, very strong. 3 water energies, which again is very easy to do because you can attach and then generate an additional energy to it. So it's, it's very easy to, it's a guaranteed turn 2 attack, right? Even though it's 3 energies. It does 80 damage, and your opponent's active Pokemon is now asleep. You can use Training Area to do 90 damage, but it's sleep. It's 80 damage and sleep. On a Pokemon that generates energies to itself, you can play Milotic in any type of deck you would like to, including Sleep Scam decks, which people are going to do for sure. So this card to me is absolutely absurd. This is one of the stronger cards we've ever had added to the game. Not only is it basically Giratina / Magneton, it's a water type Pokemon, it's a stage 1 Pokemon, and it also has a sleep attack. What were they doing? What is this? Why are we doing this? There is a new supporter card that is directly meant to be paired with Milotic, which makes it even better. It makes it extremely better than it already would be. And we're going to fast forward and talk about it because it is the new supporter card, Wallace, okay? This reads, choose one of your water Pokemon in play with a maximum HP of 50 or less. Put a random water Pokemon from your deck that evolves from that Pokemon onto that Pokemon to evolve it. Now, don't get me wrong. This is already a really nice card for stage 1 water type decks. Now, there's not that many basic water Pokemon that evolve that have 50 or less HP. In fact, I think Horsey, Magikarp, and Feebas are the only ones. And yes, so I do think Wallace is meant to be direct support, not only for Milotic, but for Gyarados and Magikarp. And that includes Mega Gyarados, that's right. So you can kind of see where I'm going here. Mega Gyarados with Milotic, with Elemental Switch, with Wallace. Absolutely absurd. Absolutely ridiculous. The other really important thing to note with Wallace is that this does work on the same turn that you play the basic Pokemon, okay? So on your first turn, you can evolve Feebas into Milotic and generate a free energy, okay? So keep that in mind. So this is not only extra consistency for stage 1 decks like Milotic, or specifically Milotic and Gyarados, but it allows you to get Milotic out on turn 1, which means you can get a +1 energy on turn 1, which means turn 2 you can attack with Milotic. Yes, you can go turn 2 Milotic quite easily, in fact, with Wallace. This card is absolutely incredible, not only for Milotic, but really good for Gyarados as well. This is broken, okay? So I'm going to package Milotic and Wallace. I guess I'll give Milotic its own grade, given that we have Wallace. This is in contention for the best card we've ever gotten in Pokemon Pocket. I'm just going to flat out say it. This is one of the best cards of all time. Not only, I don't even know where I'm going here. You can play Milotic in any deck because it generates water energies to itself. However, you probably want to play it in water decks. That way you can just go turn 2 Milotic, which again is really, really nice, not only for the energy battery and the ability to just move those water energies to any other water Pokemon that you want, which is crazy, but also it's just really good because it does sleep. It's a sleep attack. So yes, Darkrai, Igglybuff, Milotic, all that stuff is going to work here. People will be annoyed that Milotic is more support for the sleep archetype. However, one thing that I really do want to stress is that sleep is so heavily counterplayed. The sleep decks of this season drastically underperformed in tournament play. So while I think the most popular way to play Milotic is going to be with Darkrai and the sleep scam stuff, I don't think that that's that meta viable. People are going to play Ogerpon, they're going to play Comfey, they're going to play PCL, and at the end of the day, yes, Milotic is a good card, but if you're playing Sleep Scam, you should probably just be playing Igglybuff and Darkrai, of course, but then you're probably just going to want to play a Pokemon that does like more damage. You know what I mean? Yes, double Darkrai, Milotic is 120, and that's pretty cool, but also Mega Altaria, quite frankly, has more HP, and it also does 130. Okay, so in that sense, I really don't think Milotic is that good. However, Milotic is absolutely broken and is direct support and is extremely good when paired with Mega Gyarados. So for all of those reasons, I think Milotic to me is absolutely incredible. I'm going to give this a 5 out of 5 stars. This card is super, super good. I was talking about it. If there is any new water-type Pokemon to knock Suicune off the water-type pedestal, it's Milotic EX. This card is absolutely fundamentally broken. Again, it's one of the few cards in the game that generates energies to itself and additionally does good things. Think about Milotic as Giratina and Magneton sort of combined, and Sleep Scam all combined. It's genuinely one of the crazier cards we've ever gotten. Really, really good. Milotic, 5 out of 5 stars on Milotic. That card is crazy, dude. What are we doing? What is that card? Okay, anyway, let's talk about Froslass. So this is Gourgeist, but it's a water type Pokemon. And Gourgeist is good. Gourgeist is a good card. I think that Gourgeist has the benefit of being played with Altaria, but I don't really know if there's a big reason to play Froslass. Maybe. I mean, maybe. You could play Froslass and then also play Milotic. It's generally a good card. I do think that maybe it sees play in certain strategies. You discard a card from your hand, and then you deal 70 damage for 1 energy. It's literally Gourgeist. Now, this could be good in Zoroark, so you could play, Froslass and Zoroark and the new tool card to give those Pokemon plus 30 HP. You could play Irida. There's a lot of things you could do with Froslass. I really like it. I think this is actually a really decent card, but I would be surprised if it was popular this season in the metagame at all. But again, objectively rating this, I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5 stars. It's a good Pokemon. It's a genuinely good Pokemon. Let's talk about the new Iron Bundle. Bundled Pump. This is a new future Pokemon. Okay, so keep in mind we can use Iron Valiant to attack for 1 energy here. Flip a coin. If heads, this attack does 50 more damage. So 50 plus 50 would be 100 for 1 energy. Kind of crazy. And if tails, you do 50 damage to yourself. Now, at the end of the day, this is 1 water energy, 50 damage. And sometimes it's 100 damage. So I think this card is actually kind of crazy in a weird way, but also I don't think people are doing this. I just don't. Now, you could play this Iron Bundle and Iron Bundle EX with Iron Valiant, and to be honest, it's probably not even a bad deck. But I don't know. I'm also going to give this... You know what? I'm going to give this like a 2. What do I do here? I'm gonna give it a 2. I'm gonna give it a 2 out of 5 stars. It's just right down the middle. It's just something that's not bad, but I just don't think people will... I don't think it's going to see a ton of play. That's my opinion about it. Let's fast forward all the way to Emolga, which is kind of a partner Pokemon to the new Dedenne EX. It does kind of the same exact thing. Basic Pokemon, Retreat cost of 1, lightning type, weak to light. It's a lightning type that is weak to lightning, which I don't know if we've ever seen before. Zapdos might be the one that we've seen. So maybe Zapdos is the only other one. I could be wrong with it. Maybe there's more. Because it's also a flying type, so it makes sense. 70 HP, does 2 lightning energy, 30 damage, and it does 30 for each Pokemon tool card attached to all of your Pokemon. So if you have a full board, 4 Pokemon, 4 tool cards, you're dealing 120 on a basic non-EX Pokemon for 2 energies. It's totally fine. But it's basically just it's Dedenne EX, but not an EX version. And it only has 70 HP. I'm going to give Emolga a 2 out of... I'm going to give it a 2. Yeah, I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5. I just don't think there's really ever a reason to really play Emolga. To be honest, I think you just play Dedenne because it's a 2-prize Pokemon anyway. So there's never ever a time where you're going to go Emolga into Dedenne. You'd almost rather always just go Dedenne into Dedenne. Like, that's the reality of it. But Dedenne EX is honestly a very respectable card. 120 HP, and it does the same thing, but it's 40x, so you can hit for 160 for 2 energies. This is actually a bit more likely to happen. This is not actually as bad as you might think. We did get additional tool card support. We got we got 2 new tool cards, which are really nice, but we also got this right here. This is Kids Room. I'll just sort of read this out real quick before I grade it. Once during each player's turn, that player may choose a card from their hand and switch it with a random Pokemon tool card from their deck. So this is +0 card advantage. It doesn't, draw cards, but it guarantees you that you can get a tool card, at least one every single turn. And that's going to be really nice for Dedenne, specifically for Dedenne decks. There's not really any other decks that you would play it in. Maybe you would play it in like Slowking, but as we know, Slowking is not that good. You can play Zoroark, you can play E-Switch, you can play Pichu, you can play Elemental Switch, you can play Electric Generator. There's some infinite ways to get extra lightning energies onto Dedenne, so this is a very aggressive Pokemon, and it's a combo deck. This is a fast-paced combo deck. It actually, in my testing, reminded me of Hydreigon in a weird way, with more steps. And the concept here is that you get your board full of Pokemon, and you get them full of tool cards, and then you attack. And yes, you can go turn 2 160. It's actually very, very strong. I think Dedenne is a little bit awkward, but definitely not a weak card by any stretch of the imagination. This to me feels almost like it's like both Pikachu EXs combined, right? Where like most of the time you're just going to hit for like 80, but you can hit for 160, and that's kind of crazy. So it's honestly a really good card. I'm going to give Dedenne a 3 out of 5 stars. 3 out of 5 for Dedenne. Definitely a respectable card. I'm going to fast forward all the way to Sylveon. Now, Sylveon is also a card that works for tool cards, or works with tool cards. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon has a Pokemon tool attached to it, you can heal 30 damage from each of your Pokemon. This isn't bad. There's not really any tool cards that you really need to have on Sylveon. Maybe because it's sitting on your bench, you would play Protective Poncho. So you Poncho up your Sylveon, and then you can heal 30 from each of your Pokemon. And that's not really that bad at all. I think Sylveon is a good card. It's just extra steps. It's a stage 1 Pokemon. It is an evolution, but it's a stage 1 Pokemon, and you need tool cards to really only heal more than just 10 more damage than an Indeedee would heal. So in that sense, there are going to be some strategies that are built around Sylveon that are a little bit more annoying to deal with. I think at first glance, this is probably something that's meant to be played in something specific, maybe Espeon Sylveon with the new tool card, which we'll talk about here. Actually, I'll just bring it up now. Elegant Cape. Okay, this is a new tool card, which is the same as like Giant Cape or Big Cape, whatever it's called. 30 HP, but to only stage 1 Pokemon, right? So instead of +20, it's +30, right? So now you can leave Cape effectively any stage 1 Pokemon. So I do think you're probably supposed to play Elegant Cape, Protective Poncho, Espeon EX, and Sylveon, and just heal for a ton of damage. Espeon will go up to 170 HP, which is pretty relevant. That's a strategy that I'm actually really curious about. I haven't tested it, but very, very curious about it. I think that Sylveon's a totally fine card. Again, it's a bit specific. I think most decks would probably rather still play Indeedee, but this is a strong card. Specifically, like I said, for that Espeon Evolution deck. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a 3 out of 5 stars. I think this is a totally fine card, but I still give Indeedee like a 4 out of 5 type of card. You know what I mean? So it's definitely not bad. I'll give Sylveon 3 out of 5 stars. It's a very, 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 it's a good card. It's a nice card. Let's talk about Carbink, okay? And after Carbink, we're going to talk about Mega Diancie, because these two cards are meant to go together. Carbink here, 50 HP basic Pokemon, is Lycia searchable. Psychic type, gets free retreat with Peculiar Plaza. This is Manaphy. This is a Psychic type Manaphy with Oceanic Gift, but this is Glittering Gift. So we're doing it, but now it's Psychic type. And you might be like, why did Psychic need a Manaphy? It didn't. It really did not. But you know what? Mega Diancie came out, and now we have Carbink. And to me, that combo feels very, very strong. Anyway, 1 Psychic Energy. Choose 2 of your bench Pokemon, and for each of those Pokemon, you attach a Psychic Energy to them. So you attach 1, and then you generate 2. That is very strong in general, just like Manaphy was strong in general. But to be fair, Mega Diancie is really the only card you would play Carbink with. And as we know, Mega Diancie is something. We'll talk about Mega Diancie in a little bit. But yeah, Carbink is really nice. And I do think this card has value, but particularly it's going to see value with Mega Diancie. I'm going to give Carbink it's only got 50 HP. It is Lyssia searchable. I'm going to give Carbink what do I want to give it, man? I'll give it a 3.75. Out of 5, maybe a 4 out of 5. It's just a bit too specific. It's definitely not a bad card. Like I think that because Mega Diancie came out alongside it, makes this feel a little bit more valuable than it ever would be. For that reason, I think we'll give it 3.5. I'll just give it 3.5 out of 5 stars. It's a very, very strong card. But let's talk about Mega Diancie, right? Which, if you don't know, is the new basic Mega Pokemon, 170 HP Psychic type, weak to Steel. And it's got Brilliant Storm. Retreat cost of 1, by the way. So again, free retreat with Peculiar Plaza. 3 colorless energies, Brilliant Storm, 40 plus 20 more for each Psychic Energy attached to all of your Pokemon. That's right, Carbink, Gardevoir, Mega Gardevoir, Giratina, whatever you want. You just pile up energies, you go into Mega Diancie, and all of a sudden you're hitting for 200 plus damage. It's incredibly powerful. This card is way too strong. I think that this is something that is going to be just incredibly good. I just can't imagine Carbink plus Gardevoir in Diancie isn't going to just start one-KOing things left and right. It's extremely easy. It is extremely easy to deal a ton of damage with Mega Diancie, more than you would think, especially if you do get Gardevoir out, if you can get Carbink's attack off once or twice. You know, by the time you come into Mega Diancie, you probably have 5, 6, 7 energies on board, and do the math. It's a lot. There's so many times where I went into Mega Diancie and I was already dealing 140, 160, 180, you know? And then it's like, sure, even if I don't want to KO a Pokemon, like let's say maybe I go into, a matchup into a Mega Blaziken or a Mega Sceptile, I have enough HP to where I'm going to live an attack into most scenarios, unless it's like Mega Lucario or whatever. And then the next turn I'm dealing 20 more, sometimes 40 more, sometimes even 60 more if I have double Gardevoir on my bench. So Mega Diancie ramps out of control almost incredibly. It's a Pokemon that can come in and 1-hit KO almost anything in the game sometimes, but also will 2-hit KO anything in the game, bar none. Really, really strong Pokemon. I really, really like Mega Diancie. I don't think it's as generally useful as Milotic, and typically I reserve like 5-star ratings for cards that have like multiple uses. Mega Diancie feels extremely strong to me. I'm thinking like a 4 to 4.5 out of 5 stars. This is just a really strong card. I'm still on the fence a little bit because we do still have Mega Altaria, and there's other Psychic type decks that are really strong. And if you're playing Mega Diancie, you're building a deck that's all about generating a ton of Psychic energies. Once this card gets figured out, once the deck list gets optimized, this is going to be one of the more dangerous things in the entire game. But I still have my reservations, mainly because Mega Scizor will 1-hit KO Mega Diancie, right? So there is something in the game like that. Mega Lucario can 1-hit KO you, so Mega Charizard as well. The difficult part about Diancie is that it's difficult to force your opponent into their Mega without going into Mega Diancie, right? So if your opponent is set up to 1-hit KO you, then you lose the game. There's no way around that. The upside, though, is that once you go into Mega Diancie, you're probably going to KO whatever's in the active. If it's not a Mega, you're definitely just going to KO it. And if they can't 1-hit KO you, then it's pretty likely that you're just going to KO them back. So I still think Mega Diancie is incredibly strong into like most scenarios. I'm going to give this a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I could be very wrong about Mega Diancie, but in my playing, I really feel like this card is very, very good. Incredibly, incredibly good. I'm going to skip ahead, I guess, to Flutter Mane, which does 90 damage, and if it didn't move from the bench to the active this spot this turn, it does nothing. So, you can boost your energy, this thing. It's got 1 colorless. It's pretty funny, but you have to swap around with it. It's a little bit strange. I don't know if we really have a way to do that very well. I guess you would play it with, like, Rhydon in a weird deck. I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to give this I don't know. I'm going to give this like a 1.5 out of 5 stars. I just don't think this Flutter Mane ever sees play. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm actually just going to skip way forward here. All the way to, yeah, you guessed it, Mega Sableye. That's right. We are getting Mega Sableye. And I like this card. Okay. I do like this card. It is also a basic 170 HP Dark type Mega. And if you know anything about the current metagame of Pokemon Pocket, we have a 170 HP Dark-type basic Mega Pokemon, and that is Mega Absol, which is kind of the crown jewel. Everyone's going to be comparing Mega Sableye to Mega Absol. So let's read this card. For 1 dark and 1 colorless, so that's immediately better than Absol. Absol's double dark, so this is 1 dark, 1 colorless. So you can play this a little bit more flexibly. You can go Turbo Sableye. You can do a lot of different things here with Mega Sableye. And it also does 80 damage, just like Mega Absol does. However, this effect reads, during your opponent's next turn, if this Pokemon is damaged by an attack, do 40 damage to the attacking Pokemon. So all of a sudden, that 80 turns into 120 pretty quick. Now, 120 times 2 is getting the KO, but really it's 120 plus 80, which is 200, which still takes the KO on a lot of Pokemon. You can play Poison Barb, Nihilego, you can play Rocky Helmet. There's a lot of really useful things here with Mega Sableye, and I actually really do like it. And I actually like it a bit better than Mega Absol, generally because I do think damage is always better. I think Mega Absol has a really strong effect, being able to discard supporter cards. It does win games sometimes, being able to discard those Cyruses. I understand the value of Mega Absol, but the thing about Mega Sableye is that as long as your opponent doesn't have a target to Cyrus up to win the game, which to be fair, most of the time they probably won't. Because the concept here with Absol and Mega Sableye, I think, is to play these with Hydreigon. And if you're playing them with Hydreigon, the general concept is that you go through Hydreigons until they get KO'd, and then you go into your Mega Absol / Mega Sableye, so they shouldn't really have a Cyrus target in general to win the game. If you are playing like Darkrai, or if you're playing double Absol, like Absol probably would be better so that you could avoid the Cyrus combo. But in most scenarios, I really do think that Mega Sableye is probably just better than Mega Absol in Hydreigon decks. And again, Rocky Helmet, which is seeing play in Hydreigon anyway, as well as Lucky Ice Pop, all of those things still synergize really well with Mega Sableye. You're effectively guaranteeing, if you come in, you hit for 80, and then if you don't get one at KO'd, that's cool, right? But even if you were to get one at KO'd, you could force the tie, right? Because if your opponent is going to KO themselves by taking 60 damage, then that's tough, right? So 60 plus 80 is 140, and that's going to be enough to take some KOs sometimes, but 140 plus another 80, if you do survive, is going to guarantee KO. So I actually do like Mega Sableye a lot better because it's more consistently going to 2-hit KO Pokemon, especially Mega Pokemon, whereas Absol sometimes really does struggle to 2-hit KO Pokemon. I think that's a really big downside of Absol, is that 80 times 2 generally isn't enough to KO Megas, right? So I actually think Mega Sableye is a better card. I do, just at first glance. At least it's better in that particular strategy. I really like Mega Sableye. Do I want to give it a 4 out of 5? I don't know. It's interesting to me. You could play Sableye a lot of different ways. Like I said, 1 colorless does open up a lot more possibilities. You could play Sustain, you could play Healing, you could play Poison Barb, Nihilego, you could play Starting Plains, Giant Cape, Healing, Lucky Ice Pop, Sustain, Sableye build. You could do it a lot of different ways. This to me feels a little bit more like Guzzlord than Absol does. You know what? I'm just gonna give Sableye a really solid. What did I give? So I gave 5 to Milotic. I gave 4.5 to Diancie. I'm going to give 4 out of 5 to Sableye. I think this is just a really solid card. I do. I think it's a solid card. I could be wrong. It could just be worse than Absol. And I think that the only meta deck that will see play for Mega Sableye will likely be with Hydreigon, because that's just what the Dark type archetype is now. But honestly, Zoroark could probably benefit just as much from Mega Sableye. Like, I think that any deck playing Absol, you could play Sableye, and it's just going to come down to which one's better, quite frankly. My early opinion is that this is better than Absol, but I could be wrong about that, because I underrate Absol all of the time. Maybe the supporter discard is the wave. I don't know. Maybe it's better. But to be honest, like 120 every turn, it just feels better. I always prioritize damage, more than anything. I'd rather just take a KO. the discard a supporter. That's my opinion, and the math does check out for Sableye. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. Shout out to Mega Sableye. Let's skip on forward here. I want to talk about Toxapex and Marini, because this is an interesting little combo. Marini here is a basic dark type, 60 HP, and this is a new poison strategy. This does Venoshock, so 20 damage, plus if your opponent's active Pokemon is poisoned, it does 60 more, so 80 damage to a poisoned opponent. But let's take a look here at Toxapex, which is its evolution, 110 HP, dark type Pokemon. This has severe poison. So for 2 energies, dark and colorless, you poison your opponent, but basically it says that your opponent takes 40 damage from poison instead of 60, or say instead of just 10, which is kind of crazy, right? So the concept here is that you Memory Light Toxapex, you poison them, and then you Venoshock. So you do, poison and then the 40, and then you Venoshock in the following turn for 80 damage. It's not bad. This whole thing to me is kind of niche. I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5. stars. I think it's totally okay. I think it's fine. That's how I feel. I think it's fine. Let's talk about Hisuian Goodra. We already did talk about this a little bit. This to me feels like worse normal Goodra. I would rather just play the normal Goodra. It's instead of healing, it's a coin flip, and then it's minus 80 from attack. Sabrina gets around this. There's plenty of ways here to just not win games if you're Hisuian Goodra. It's also Steel and Water, which I think is objectively worse. It does deal 120 damage. It doesn't have a weakness. It's 150 HP. You can Heavy Helmet this thing. I don't think it's a bad card in a general sense. I just don't think this will ever see play. I'm going to give this a 2 out of 5 stars for Hisuian Goodra. 2 out of 5. I'm going to skip through all of these cards until I get to Munchlax. So let's talk about Munchlax. It's a new baby. This is a baby Pokemon. Unlike any other baby we've ever seen. 50 HP, which is the most HP out of any baby Pokemon, but it has a retreat cost of 2, whereas every other baby has a retreat cost of 0, I believe. But it is a baby because it has no energy in its attack cost and it has no weakness, which means it is a baby Pokemon. Munchlax here, colorless here, for 0 energy attack cost, does 10 damage and draws a card. That's really good. This is a really good card. I really like Munchlax. I actually think that this card could be very valuable in so many different decks, but the one thing that concerns me about Munchlax, and I talked about this on the stream, is that I think most decks would probably rather play Chingling and Lucky Egg. Chingling Lucky Egg effectively does the same thing. It draws you cards, it does 10 damage, but it has free retreat, and of course it item locks. So to me, it's sort of like pick your poison. Would you rather play Munchlax with Greninja in a Greninja combo deck, or would you rather play Chingling Lucky Egg? I don't know. It's hard to say. I think that's the comparative factor here. Drawing a card is good. I mean, it is, and you get 50 HP, so you're not getting KO'd as easily as other baby Pokemon do. But you also don't have free retreat, so that's the trade-off. All right, is that you have 20 more HP, but you can't retreat for free. And to me, that's a pretty big caveat because your opponent can literally just not KO. Right, so that's the downside to Munchlax. Right, is that just like Orthworm, if you remember Orthworm, your opponent is able to just not KO this thing, and then they just set up. And if they have a stronger setup than you, then they're just going to chill. They're just going to be like, whatever, you can just draw cards, and I'll just set up my board state, Like, I don't know. I think Munchlax is a really good card. I don't think it's better than Chingling. I don't think it's better than Igglybuff. I think Chingling is a better card. I think Igglybuff is a better card now with Sleep Darkrai, but I really do like Munchlax. To me, it's definitely better than some baby Pokemon. I'm going to give this a solid 3.25 stars. It's hard to say. If this is better than Chingling and Greninja decks, it's going to be very good. I'm going to give it like a 4 out of 5. But if it's not better than Chingling, Lucky Egg, then I'm just going to end up giving this like a 3 out of 5. So it's in between 3 and 4, depending on if it's better than Chingling in the Greninja stuff. We'll have to wait and see. I really don't know. It's not something I tested myself, but it is strong. Turn 1 draw, 10 damage for the chip. You could Rocky Helmet on this thing. You could do a lot. You could actually just Giant Cape starting planes this thing and go to 90 HP, which would be pretty funny. I like it. I do. I like Munchlax. I do. I think it's a good card. But is it better than Chingling? That's the question. Snorlax. This is massive body. We already know about this. If this is in play, your opponent cannot use or not play stadium cards, which is pretty a good effect, to be fair. The concept here is that we play Berry in Snorlax and we can do 70 for 1 energy, which is actually quite strong. I don't think Berry Lax is good enough in this current state of the metagame, but it does exist, and Berry and Snorlax do exist, so it has support. Not a terrible card. I'm going to give this a 2.5 out of 5 stars. This is a very just down the road card. Definitely not terrible, but probably won't see significant meta play. Next up is Ursaluna, which is a stage 2 Pokemon, a colorless 160 HP, and it has Guts as the ability. If this Pokemon would be knocked out by damage from an attack, flip a coin. If heads, this attack or this Pokemon is not KO'd, its remaining HP becomes 10. This is actually pretty strong on a colorless 160 HP stage 2, non-EX Pokemon, quite frankly. That already is pretty strong. However, the attack here, I don't feel great about. 4 colorless energies for 110 damage. Doesn't feel great. You do discard the top card of your opponent's deck. Retreat cost of 3, weak to fighting. I don't love Ursaluna. This is a card that can be really annoying. People are going to play it. They're going to flip heads a million times and they're going to beat you. But in general, cards like this that are based around RNG are never like super top tier meta contending. It's just one of those cards that is not terrible, but probably won't be like super competitively meta. I'm going to go ahead and just give Ursaluna, again, a 2.5 out of 5 stars. It's just totally fine. It's just a very fine card, very respectable, but nothing too incredible. Let's talk about Hisuian Zoroark, which is definitely the more interesting card in the set. I thought they would give us something that just is immediately meant to be paired with Hisuian Zoroark. To be honest, the trial single battle deck plays Hisuian Zoroark with literally the Caterpie Butterfree combo, and I think Klefki, which is hilarious. But to be honest, like this is what this card is, and I think they designed this card this way. This is basically King Gambit. If you guys remember King Gambit that came out last set, it's just a card that comes in at the very end of the game after a bunch of setup, and then all of a sudden you can hit for a ton of damage. I mean, to be fair, if your opponent goes through double Butterfree and deals with all of the chip damage of the Butterfree, and every time they KO a Butterfree, that's 3 Pokemon that go into your discard pile because it's a stage 2 Pokemon, and Metapod is included in that because of Caterpie's effect, then all of a sudden that's 120 damage added to Hisuian Zoroark, and that's 200 plus damage, or 200 damage for 3 colorless. And that also would include like maybe any Klefki discards or something like that. So I do understand it. I do get this card. I think it's cool. It is fun to be able to 1-hit KO Mega Pokemon and win the game. For that reason, I don't think it's terrible. I just don't think this is really a card that I'm trying to build an entire deck around. And it's going to be a lot more difficult to go double Butterfree than you might think. 1 Butterfree is totally fine, but other than that, Hisuian Zoroark does struggle a bit. You can use Elegant Cape on this thing to bring it up to 180 HP, but you can also do that to the normal Zoroark EX, which in my mind is generally a better card. Hisuian Zoroark, again, totally fine. I just think there's better options. 3 energies in the attack cost really makes this thing struggle to me. If this was 2 energies in the attack cost, I would feel a lot better about it. Unfortunately, it's 3, and it's colorless. So it's cool. It's really cool. This is a really cool card. I just don't think there's really a lot of reason to play this above other things in the metagame. I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5 stars. It's totally fine. There's just better cards. There's just better cards in the game, honestly. But I do like Hisuian Zoroark. And let's talk about this new Furfrou. I made a big deal out of this card on stream because I think this card is crazy. Objectively here, this is the same as the Furfrou that people use right now. 70 HP, colorless, single energy attack cost, fur coat, -20 from attacks, right? And Furfrou is useful in the metagame. It's like the anti-baby Pokemon. This Furfrou is the exact same thing, but for 1 energy, you flip 2 coins and you deal 30 damage for each heads. So effectively, instead of always dealing 30 damage, you can sometimes deal 30. Sometimes you can deal 60 damage on your first turn for 1 energy, or you can deal 0. This to me is basically like Type Null, if you remember Type Null back in the day, like on steroids. Most of the time, you're going to be dealing 30 or 60 damage. I don't think people understand just the ability to deal 60 damage on your first turn is crazy. There's just nothing in the game that does that. That KOs any basic Pokemon virtually that you're going to go up against, that's going to evolve. And if you just KO that Pokemon on turn 1, like your opponent probably doesn't really know what to do. They're like, oh, I guess I probably lose because my basic just got KO'd on turn 1. Furfrou is a really good card. This card, I don't know if it will see play, but it really should. This is a really, really, really good card. I think people just don't like coin flips, so they're going to play the other Furfrou, but this is objectively a better card in my mind. I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5 stars. Maybe even, I'm going to give it a 3.5. 3.5 out of 5. That's my objective ranking. I don't know if this card will ever see play, but it's a really good card. That's how I feel about it. All right, let's quickly rank these trainer cards and then we'll wrap them up. We have talked about them. Small Balloon is a really, really nice card. This is a card that's going to be exceptionally good as one of your 4 or 5 tool cards in Dedenne EX, but it's going to have value across the board in any deck that plays basic Pokemon that have a retreat cost of 1, quite honestly. And there are some. But Small Balloon is really, really nice. It's not the most general use card in the game, but it's really good that we do have this. It's effectively, it's water, what is it called? Small Boat, I think. Small Boat, but it works for any Pokemon, basically, not just water types. I like this card. I do. It's a bit specific to certain strategies. It's going to be really nice in the decks that you play it. I'm going to give this, again, a 3.5 out of 5 stars. It's just a really nice card to have into the game. Elegant Cape, kind of a similar deal. Stage 1 Pokemon have plus 30 HP, but here's the thing, okay? Here's the thing. Stage 1 Pokemon are actually a bit more popular than you might think, right? Mega Lucario is a stage 1 Pokemon. Mega Altaria is a stage 1 Pokemon. What else is there? The new Milotic is a stage 1 Pokemon. There are a lot of really meta-relevant stage 1 Pokemon, and giving them 30 HP is kind of a big deal. Like, basically, this is just a flat upgrade for any deck that is playing stage 1 Pokemon, right? Like, it's genuinely good. For example, like when I was playing Milotic and Mega Gyarados, I was able to give my Mega Gyarados 240 HP. 240 on a stage 1 Pokemon. So there are applications where Elegant Cape is going to be extremely good. Maybe it's worth it to bring your Mega Altaria to 190 or 220 rather. Maybe it's not. I don't know. That being said, this is definitely a really, really nice card to have in the decks that are going to use it. I do think this is actually a little bit better. Maybe not. I don't know. You know what? I'll give it a 3.5 out of 5 stars as well, because it is a bit specific. I generally think this card at first glance is stronger than Small Balloon, but you know what? They're probably in the same category. 3.5 stars out of 5 is probably correct. 2 very, very good tool cards that we'll see play in certain decks. Elisa is a supporter card here. This reads, return all Pokemon tool cards attached to each Pokemon, both yours and your opponent's, to their owner's hand. Now, this is basically like Guzma, but it's not. It's a weird card. This is a card that definitely has value in certain strategies. You know, like in Dedenne, I think you're supposed to be playing this in Dedenne, and it allows you to not only remove your opponent's tool cards for the turn that you're attacking, but it also allows you to swap around your tool cards however you would want to, right? If you want to kind of, you know, remove a tool card and then put it on a different Pokemon, which I actually think is very valuable, right? So when you're playing Dedenne EX, you know, maybe you want the Rocky Helmet on the active, but, you know, that Pokemon isn't in the active. So you could play Elisa, and it's kind of a 2-for-1 type strategy. Maybe you're playing Electrical Cord, maybe you're playing, you know, Small Balloon, right? So it's actually really nice one-of in Dedenne. I just don't know if it's really going to see a lot of play elsewhere. I'm going to give Elisa, you know, there's only 20 cards in decks. I'm going to give this like a 2 out of 5 stars. I think this is just a, you know, it's an interesting card, but I don't think it's that crazy. Puppy Loving Girl, very specific. This is a card that is specifically made for Puppy Pile, so let's rate it as it pertains to Puppy Pile. Look at the top 4 cards of your deck. Put all Pokemon you find there that have Puppy Pile attacked into your hand, and then you shuffle the other cards back into your deck. This is a really, really good card for Puppy Pile. This is something that would be extremely useful in Puppy Pile. Now, Puppy Pile in general, I don't think is going to be that good, but this is a totally solid card for Puppy Pile. Again, I'm just going to give this a 2.5 out of 5 stars, just because like it's super specific. It's hard to rank something like this. In Puppy Pile specifically, it's really nice. So maybe a 3 out of 5 stars? I don't know. You know, it's hard to rank this. If Puppy Pile's the #1 deck in the metagame, then I'm wrong, I guess. And Puppy Loving Girl will probably be at the forefront of it, which is pretty cool. Next, let's talk about Wallace. So Wallace is interesting. Again, it's a very specific card. This is a card that literally is only in the game to support things like Magikarp and Feebas to evolve into Gyarados and Milotic. So it's, again, very specific, but extraordinarily strong, particularly for Milotic. I think if you are playing Milotic and you're playing it with Gyarados, you definitely play double Wallace, and your deck is fundamentally exceedingly stronger than you could have ever imagined. It is +1 card advantage, which is pretty nice. Or not +1 card advantage, but it pulls a card out of your deck, right? So it's thinning. But also just generally getting Milotic out on turn 1 so that you can generate the extra energies is exceedingly useful. It's also really nice just to make it so you don't have a bunch of 30 HP Pokemon sitting on your board, and that makes that whole strategy way, way better, right? Milotic and Gyarados would be strong as is, but they would not be nearly as strong if you couldn't just remove the downside of them being 30 HP basic Pokemon. You know what I mean? So Wallace to me is incredible. It is specific. I gave Milotic a 5 out of 5 stars. Wallace, I'll give like a 4 out of 5 stars, I guess, just because it's incredibly good, and you're going to play it with Milotic. You can play it with Gyarados, but other than that, there's really no other applications where you would be playing Wallace. And the reason is because it's 50 HP or less on a basic water Pokemon that evolves. It doesn't have to be a basic, but it would be, right? And again, the only Pokemon in the game currently are Horsea, Magikarp, and Feebas. So it's specifically for Magikarp and Feebas, but it's really good for those cards. I'll give it a 4 out of 5. You know, I'll give it a 4 out of 5 stars. Shout out to Wallace. An incredible card. Milotic Wallace is insane. I don't know what they were thinking. Again, Milotic is incredibly good. This is insane. This is absurd. It's what do you mean? What is this? What is this Pokemon? Why is this in the game? Who knows? I couldn't tell you. Anyway, have fun this season. Lastly, let's talk about Kids Room. Again, this is a stadium card here. Once during each player's turn, that player may choose a card from their hand, swap it with a random tool card from their deck. Again, in certain decks that really rely on tool cards, it's going to be exceedingly good, very, very specific. Really nice for Dedenne. My cat is yelling at me. Sorry. He probably wants to go to bed because it's midnight. I like Kids Room. I do actually like this card. It's not +1 card advantage. It's very specific. I'm gonna give it a 2.5 out of 5 stars. It's fine. You know, just a totally fine card. But anyway, there you go, guys. That is the set here. These are all of the full arts. We got some new shiny Pokemon, including Gyarados, including Indeedee EX, which is really good. The Munchlax and the Small Balloon are the crown rares. Bunch of new shiny Pokemon. The immersive is Dedenne EX, which is interesting. Zoroark, Sableye, Diancie, and Milotic all got rainbow rares, which is really nice. I really like this set, okay? In total grade out of 5 stars, I'm actually giving Everyday Wonders a very, very solid 4.25 out of 5. That's how I'm feeling about this set. I think this is going to really shake up the metagame. Lots of really relevant cards. Almost everything in the set is decent, and a couple of things are exceedingly strong. The big hitters for me are Milotic, the whole Milotic package, and Mega Diancie. Those seem exceedingly strong, and things like Dedenne, things like Mega Sableye, and even things like Hisuian Zoroark are probably going to be somewhat decent and relevant in the metagame moving forward. So I really like the set. An absolute banger. Like I said, Diancie seemed good, but then they gave us Carbink. Milotic and Wallace came out of nowhere, and it's absolutely ridiculous, super broken. Highly recommended. And like I said, Mega Sableye is really nice, could be an absolute upgrade. And then the Dedenne stuff is really cool. So I'm just happy that they added that. And so is Zoroark, even though this might not be top tier meta decks. Maybe they will be, who knows? But that's my pre-grade. Comment down below. What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? Don't forget to like and subscribe, guys. I got to go to bed and get this video out. Don't forget to register for PMPT Holiday Special this weekend. And don't forget to tune in here to the videos coming tomorrow and in all of the upcoming days. We're going to be uploading a lot this week in the upcoming week. So definitely stay tuned. All right, guys. Peace out. Have a good one. We'll see you guys next time. And yeah. Bye.